Today's episode is brought to you by Instructional Design Institute. Is your goal in 2025 to go back to the basics when it comes to design? If yes, then our fundamentals course is right for you. This is a type of a 7-week learning experience where we cover everything as far as from andragogy analysis, backward design, Gen AI, UDL, evaluation methods, you name it, we go through essentially every type of component that makes up what it means to create a meaningful, relevant, and interesting type of learning experience. And the best part about this course by far is that you don't go through the course alone. It's a cohort type of a base model, so you're going to be thinking together, sharing, collaborating. The whole focus and the point of everything is to learn from others, and that comes from the breakout rooms, the discussions, and everything else of the sort. And throughout the past 6 cohorts, we've had pretty much everyone take this course, from teachers to professors to deans to, of course, instructional designers, and any other role you can basically think of within the educational sphere. All folks are welcome on in to partake inside of this course. So whether your goal is to be able to advance in your career, whether it's to be able to walk away with a type of a portfolio, or just to be able to learn the skills that are going to apply immediately into your workplace, that's what this course is all about. So come check out why 20 different universities have sent their folks to come and learn about instructional design with us. Go down below inside of the show notes, and the next cohort is going to be starting on Monday, March 3rd. So coming up in a couple of months now, and we'll be kicking things off. So hey, go down below, apply. Can't wait to see you inside of a course. And now, let's start the show. Hello, learning nerds, and welcome on in to the first show of 2025. I'm your host. My name is Dr. Luke Hobson. I'm an instructor, author, blogger, podcaster, and pretty much my life revolves around designing learning experiences and being able to share with you the very best and the latest when it comes to instructional design and online learning. And you can find all of the resources that I have for you over at drlukehobson.com. Today's podcast episode is all around why discussion boards get a bad rap and how to fix them, how we as educators can create organic conversations in our types of online courses. As you know, in every online course, there exists the discussion board. It's a place, in theory, where students go to converse about the course material, their insights, and their experiences. They are deemed as crucial and required by every university that I can really think of, and I agree that there should be a place for great minds to come together, share, and to discuss. Unfortunately, many of these boards are where conversations go to die. Sure, the quantity is there, but what about the substance? I've seen people put far more effort into arguing on Facebook groups instead of responding back to a discussion board post. It's common to see many replies like, "I agree," and "great points," and then that's the end. Is that actually a conversation? Is it a discussion? You and I both know it's not. Now, maybe you are thinking that I must hate discussion boards, but it's quite the contrary. I genuinely believe that discussion boards can be a wonderful tool for online learning. I've seen this firsthand with strong dialogue, organic conversations, deepening of respect of different views and points, and creating lifelong friendships. So, what's the issue here? I'd argue that discussion boards are an afterthought. They are required to be in the learning experience, so they'll be present, but do they get the same level of treatment as other kinds of learning activities and assessments? Hint, they don't. The problem isn't with the tool, but how we use the tool. Instead of kicking and screaming into the night that we must create discussion boards, what if we viewed them a little bit differently? First, what kind of conversation do you want the students to have? When we're thinking about discussions, not all discussions are created equal. Are they sharing their interpretation of the course materials, bringing up past experiences and how they tie into the week's topic? Are they reviewing one another's work and providing feedback? Are they debating and persuading one another over a viewpoint? What exactly are they doing? This is going to greatly change how you set up the discussions. Dr. Lisa Kidder and Mark Cooper from Idaho State University published a great book in 2022 called Breaking the Humdrum of Post Once and Reply To Online Discussions. In this book, they described several different discussion board themes, such as alternate history, case studies, challenge questions, debates, and other kinds of themes. And I'm going to be highlighting some of these inside of today's podcast. And by the way, this is a open educational resource, so you can go down inside of a show notes and access this book immediately to help you with thinking about creating different types of discussions. Before we get into these themes, though, there is one key idea we need to discuss. Discuss, pun intended, without knowing who the other people are in the online classroom. Discussions can be awkward. If you don't know the other people, you will not feel comfortable diving deeper into certain conversations. That's kind of just like natural human tendency of how we are going to be working and sharing with ideas. If I put all of you into one room and say, have a conversation about something serious, I promise it's not going to go well. So asking students to debate one another without establishing some kind of friendly terms is only going to lead to more awkwardness. What my experiences taught me has that been a solid foundation needs to be established first before going forwards. The most effective way to do this is to host a course kickoff call. In this call, I provide an overview of what the course is all about and host an optional type of a networking session. The idea is to let students meet one another, share their goals, why they enrolled into the course in the first place, and to find common ground. Naturally, you'll find that students will gravitate towards working more closely with those they met in these groups, and mini cohorts are going to begin to organically appear. In my instructional design courses, to give you an example, it's common to see students pair up together, matching their career goals or their sectors. So if they are a teacher group, a corporate trainer group, a higher education instructional design mini cohort, that's how these things kind of form. As the instructor or facilitator, you can place people into breakout rooms on Zoom for 5 to 10 minutes at a time, then bring them back into the main room and then disperse them again into different rooms. You should also leave the option open for students to stay in the main room too if this is what they wish. Some students can only communicate via the chat or may have something else happening behind the scenes, and it's easier for them to stay in the main room with you, so I would definitely encourage you to give them that option. After this has been completed, the main discussions will have a much higher chance of producing quality conversations because, once again, the students are actually going to know one another. They're going to recognize the names and the faces inside of a discussion board, and that is just going to help out quite a bit. So, with all that said, let's get into a couple of types of key themes that you can use for your discussion board topics. The first is student showcase and small group share. I'm kind of combining two themes here into one, but you'll see why in a minute. In my courses at the University of Miami and over at Instructional Design Institute, the fundamentals of instructional design is covered, and students create their own learning experiences inside a Brightspace and have full access to one another's course. The discussion board centered around this theme is for them to go into the courses, review what's inside of one another's course shells, and then to provide constructive feedback on the pros and the cons of a design, what they essentially could improve upon, and what was really standing out, what was amazing from their initial look of a design. To do this, there is an ample setup of making sure that everyone is all set at first from a technology perspective. The courses are already built out ahead of time. And then second is making sure that we talk about how to properly deliver feedback. And if I do not do that, by the way, it is a complete mixed result of some people know how to give feedback naturally and they've done it before, and others have never delivered feedback previously. And it's a bit of a challenge for them, and it's a bit of a struggle to figure out how to do so in the right kind of way. As the instructor, I didn't want students to simply say, along the lines of like, oh, your course looks good. And then that's the end of a conversation. I want them to really dive in deeper. I'm looking for them to provide exact suggestions, recommendations, and tips around what makes the course fantastic and what could be improved upon. Since this is a very specific ask, there has to be another preparation involved in providing more insight when necessary. What I mean by this is that for these students in this course, there are guiding questions established for them to follow. In a sense, I gave them a template of what to look for in a course and how to provide feedback as well. The other part of this that I've found to be effective is to place students into mini cohorts. It's intimidating having your work reviewed by 25 people all at once. No one likes that. But when students are placed inside of mini cohorts in your learning management system, say around 3 to 5 students per group, I've noticed much stronger interactions and more personalized feedback. So essentially, you have a discussion board within a discussion board. And whatever learning management system you are using, you should be able to have this type of feature. For me, once again, I use Brightspace and also have used Blackboard Ultra. Pretty much all of them could be able to do so, Canvas as well, but that is one that I would definitely recommend for you to be able to check out in order to really spark those types of amazing conversations. Another theme for you to try is called In the News. In some kinds of discussions, there is no right or wrong answer. It's more philosophical in nature, and the outcome has yet to be decided. The goal is to make the students ponder and to think about, well, what may actually happen? In one of our new Gen AI courses at MIT, many of the conversations in the discussion boards, they were set up in a way to have learners really think about the future and how Gen AI is going to essentially impact humankind. And that's something that if you look this up inside of the news today, everyone is talking about what the future of AI and education is going to look like. In one of the discussion boards, it was centered around a pending lawsuit from academic researchers who are claiming that their work was used without permission to train datasets for new Gen AI tools. The academic publisher is claiming that they did everything correctly and ethically, yet the individuals, the researchers, are of course saying otherwise. Which side do you agree with? And whatever sector will Gen AI disrupt next is essentially the prompt from the discussion board. It's a conversation that provokes deeper thinking, and when done right, can keep the conversation going far after the deadline. And the last theme for you to try out are case studies. There is nothing better, in my opinion, than learning from the real world. Students want to know how their studies directly translate into the workforce, into the world, into their academic journeys. So what better way to show them than providing actual real-world cases? The great news is that there are case studies out there for just about every subject matter that I can think of. By incorporating these different types of case studies into your lessons, you give students the opportunity to connect theory to practice, see the impact of their learning in real-life scenarios, and to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Whether it's analyzing historical events, tackling business challenges, or exploring scientific breakthroughs, these real-world cases not only pique students' interests, but also prepare them to apply their knowledge in meaningful ways beyond just the classroom. And if you have never used case studies before, there are many, many famous case studies that revolve around, once again, any subject matter that I can think of, from IT to political science to you name it, there is like a case study for everything. But some famous case studies that have been used in multiple times throughout Ivy League schools: the Enron scandal, the Ford Pinto case, the Stanford prison experiment, Tylenol poisoning crisis, Exxon Valdez oil spill, the McDonald's hot coffee case, which I learned about when I took some courses on law for some reason in my journey. That was a super fascinating one. And of course, unfortunately, the Challenger disaster is another case that people should absolutely learn more about. It's a very, very sad tale, but one that we should certainly be diving on into more, and students will absolutely find it really fascinating. So overall, folks, those are a few methods for bringing about organic conversations to life in the discussion boards. We can and should prioritize these learning activities as they can lead to incredible results. They'll only produce these results, though, if we dedicate enough time to sparking these deeper conversations. And with all that said, I hope you think about your discussion boards a little bit differently for going forwards in the future. Speaking of the future, by the time this podcast episode comes out, my experiment with YouTube Shorts is going to be well underway. And what this experiment basically is that I am creating 25 short videos for January of 2025. I'm trying to see what happens if I create short form content to better serve you. And so far, I think so good. A lot of you have been responding, have been sharing, have been interacting with this content. Everything is 60 seconds or less. It's very bite-sized in nature. And I cover a couple of topics so far, like with the term engagement, talking about multiple choice questions, why I think they're kind of overused, and going through with a few other topics like with gamification and practice questions and a few things like that. So if you haven't yet watched them, go to YouTube and check them out. It will literally only take you seconds because that is the design of the short form content. And folks, thank you for kicking off 2025 with me in our Learning Nerd style. Appreciate all of you who have been listening to this show, all of you who have rated this show, have reviewed it online, have shared it. All of that really, really means a lot to me. So hey, thank you so much. And with all of that being said, stay nerdy out there, and I will talk to you next time.